Okay, real quick, we're getting ready to jump back into part 2 of last week's conversation around pricing. And I think Tony created a title for this called Turning Lots of Locks into Money. I'm not really sure if the title is continually applicable, but really what we're talking about is pricing strategies. How often should you be reviewing your pricing structure? And we really get into what are the customers that we should be doing work with and the customers that we shouldn't be doing work with. There's a lot of really interesting insights that we're going to jump into very quickly. So we're going to jump in mid-conversation. Part 2 of this a particular topic around pricing for your locksmith business. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you at the conclusion of this episode.
Like I'm dealing with this new company, right? We're getting into the multifamily space, and I have just been floored by what I've found out. That no one really does this well, and the construction process is such a disjointed mess that So late, I was telling you, I was working late last night.
Because you're a singer?
I don't. What word did you use?
Singer. Like to sing?
Do you usually say singer? Is that a?
It's a reference to a pop culture. It doesn't. Don't go ahead.
No, I just mean that the word singer, and you really pronounce the G.
It's a reference to a pop culture thing, and it's part of the lyric of a song, and they it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay, yeah, your vehicles and your singers are both weird.
Just worked really well.
That's the guy that says process and levers.
Yeah, you said I'm working late, and so it's just.
If you guys could just mute yourself for a minute, I've got something to say here.
Get to the point.
I'm trying, but we're singing. My point was that on a construction project, to try and put together a price for the service that we're providing. There was a glass contractor, there was a hollow metal and wood door contractor, there's the general contractor, there's the electrical contractor, there's an integrator, and there was a security contractor. That's 6 different companies that are all have to work together to produce an end user product.
How's that going?
How does it always go? I don't know if you've heard, construction occasionally goes over budget and goes long.
Yeah.
But what I noticed was everything I just mentioned. Oh, an architectural door consultant too. Door hardware consultant. What I actually noticed was those 7 services, we do it every day.
Yeah.
We do all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's just think of the value that we can add to this space specifically. It's like, hey, so I literally made a graphic that listed those 7 services, put a plus symbol on them, and equals what we do.
Oh,
right.
Genius
just a
marketing
simple.
There.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty simple. So I wanted to dumb it down so you guys could understand what I was saying.
That's what you were working late on?
Although that was, I know it's arithmetic, which I'm not sure is in the American curriculum, but I'll find out soon when we become the 51st state. But it was, it was it was just a good example of, diving into our services and what we do and understanding that value add and how much of that stuff we take for granted, because I guess that ties back to what I was talking about earlier. We're so engaged in what we do that we take for granted a lot of the stuff that other people, value. Okay. We just think, oh, well, that's just normal.
Okay. So on that note, I want to throw this in there from a profitability standpoint, pricing, all of these things. What is a big robber? What robs profit?
Thief.
It's a big robber.
Yeah.
I like it.
A thief is a robber. What?
That should be your new marketing slogan. We keep robbers out of your building.
A tahif. That's how they pronounce it in North Carolina. A tahif.
What? Another thing that can be a big theft of profit in your business is challenging customers.
Like being able to challenge them, or customers that are challenging?
Don't just let them get there. I think
customers that are challenging.
Okay.
And so when do you get to the point of either pricing a customer away or firing a customer because they're robbing you of profitability?
Customers that are dickheads. That's what you're talking about.
I wouldn't have said that way. No.
Well, yes. You said a tahif or a robber, but I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about bad customers.
Challenging customers, yes.
Yes. Bad customers that are annoying, you hate to deal with, and they take more than they give.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Dickheads. Got it. Go ahead, Chad.
So I just want to get your guys' thoughts on this is, again, as an industry, even in the service industry in general, we're focused on being all things to all people all the time.
Ugh.
How do you get into an identity where you can say, here's what we're good at, here's the customers that we service well, and here's the ones that apparently we don't, because they are a challenge. They're constantly demanding more of our time but also requesting to pay less for our time. That is a huge theft of profit.
If they walk in and say, I'm a good customer,
I spend lots of money.
You can virtually just say, right where you came in, same door, just beat it. Because if you're saying you're a good customer, generally that means you're looking for a deal. Yeah, that's a hard thing to do. I think the three of us sitting here in fairly mature businesses, it's a little easier to say, you can fire customers. And
but is it easier as a mature company versus doing it early on, because those people are going to rob your time at every level?
Yes. But it is. I would say that. Sorry, Lars, but I agree with Chad on this. You
always agree with Chad. This might as well be the Lars and Chad podcast where Tony agrees with Chad and Chad says stupid words.
That's not a very catchy title.
We're
no
going
worse
through this
than
right
this
now.
Episode title. I'll say
we're
that.
Going through this right now. Like, there's customers that it's like we've been doing work with them for years, and it's like, I don't want to tell you no now. We've done it for 20 years, and the only way to say no is with our price. It's better off to set up your business right from the start and make sure you're growing with that pricing model than it is.
But you don't know what you don't know.
I'm going to scale. But if they're listening to this podcast,
when you're a startup, okay.
So do you get to the point? So do you get to the point of charging different customers different rates?
No, I'm saying when you are just getting started, you have to understand the marketplace, and the best way to do that. The best way to do that is just say yes. Just say yes. Now that does not mean you have to do every single service. But you should at least be able to help everyone. And
Why?
Because you become that source of knowledge. You become that source of truth, and they always come to you.
You
and
say
you
just getting started. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, if you're new to the industry, you just broke off, you started your own.
Okay, so like a 1 or 2 man shop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Like probably 50% of our industry.
Yeah, because you want to eat food.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is when you're first getting started is basically saying yes to everything, and you'll learn very quickly that this 10-hour job that I just billed $100 for was a terrible idea, and I'm never going to do this again.
Yeah.
Or on the contrary, you get so busy because you're charging so cheap that you get too busy and you never actually set your business up properly to succeed.
Yeah, that's a common pitfall. But my point is
that not more of a thing that specific to you, Lars, because you're a higher risk taker and you fail fast so you can respond and know what to work?
Interesting.
It probably is tied to that. Yes. I know that I believe very strongly that the success of our business and the growth is because we were willing to take on anything.
Sure. Yeah.
Made a lot of mistakes. A lot of this stuff I just laugh at and say, how the hell did we end up, painting doors?
Yeah.
Right. Like, we don't paint doors anymore. But at one point, like, I was out there buying paintbrushes. Here we go. But now we know that. But if someone is listening and they're just getting started in the industry or in any business, and they're thinking, okay, this is, we're going to cut out everything and this is only what we're going to do.
This is a terrible idea.
No,
painting the doors thing cracks me up.
Yeah,
have you guys never painted a door?
I'll send you a picture of the doors we had in our warehouse.
I remember being at Home Depot and I was like, all right, which paintbrush do I need? Like, God, what the hell am I doing?
Okay, so now I do agree with you but I think there's an important distinction there to make sure that you evaluate it after the fact. Because actually you said something there that's interesting is a lot of the success that we have had is because someone walks through the door and they're like, do you know how to do this? And we're like, yes. And then we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But there's an important thing there to make sure that after the fact you reevaluate, do we want to do more of this? Because I think you can go down a trap of, oh, now we do this. And all of a sudden we install curtain rods, and all of a sudden you're installing curtain rods 24/7. I don't know why you do that, but anyways,
you hang those up in the sauna.
Buying lasers, buying 3D printers, like a whole
So
bunch
I do
of
think
stupid
it's
stuff that
important
has nothing to do with our industry.
that
What
if
kind
somebody-
of idiot would do that?
If
Tony?
somebody there's a fine line there. If
That would
someone
be
comes to
terrible.
you and it heavily relates to your business model,
Yeah.
or if it's a job that's somewhat out of your reach of something you've
Sure.
never done before, don't just say no.
But I didn't say cut out services. I said customers.
Yes, that is correct. I'm sure glad you went down this path for 10 minutes before you pointed that out subtly. But yes, I would. So when it comes out, I would still say it's the same thing, though. I would say, because you're not going to know what customers are bad before you know.
So a customer walks in the door, Chad, and says, I want to do this service with you. When do you say no?
Well, it's the service or the customer, because you're intermixing these two things. And I said customers.
Sorry, I was using the term service as a general term there. They come in and they say, I want a door. How do you say no? When do you know to say no?
To the customer?
To the customer, yes.
Yes. Okay. So if you have metrics in place that you can monitor how much time that they're taking.
But they're new.
How much
they're brand new. They've never used you before.
Agreed. I didn't say that. Sure, you wouldn't be able to say no immediately out of the gate because they are new. But I'm saying at what point, so my original question that I was leading off with was, how do you identify problem customers, and either do you price them differently to price them out of your service model, or do you just say no to them? Like, do you just cut them out? So say for instance,
what do you do?
Well, I don't have a plan for this. This is a question that I'm posing for conversation. So you have customers on a scale of 1 to 4, because that's the way that you measure.
That's not a
things.
scale, but
It
go
is
ahead.
1 being easy to serve, 4 being difficult. And then you also would measure them on a scale of 1 to 4 for days to pay, terms, or they pay within terms, are always late. So you're giving your customers a score now.
That's interesting. Yeah. Ranking your customers.
We started doing this. We haven't, it's actually one of our quarter 1 goals.
It's on your to-do list?
No, it's not on mine. It's on somebody else's, so it might actually get done.
Get on.
So we're putting our customers in tiers, not from a pricing standpoint, but from a service quality standpoint, to make sure that we are delivering our top tier customers the best possible service that we can, because they're the customers that we make the most money off of. I think that thought's crossed my mind in the past of charging different rates, but it is a little bit interesting to say, okay, if you're a tier 3 customer, ironically, I think we do have 4 tiers. If you're a tier 3 customer, you're going to pay a little bit more. And if you're willing to do it, we keep doing it.
So, yeah, that's the whole idea of
here. Look, check this
Chad,
chart
again.
out.
This is a podcast, so showing graphics.
Where do you get
work.
this like paper that is legal? It's bigger than legal paper. It's
because sometimes I just
can we get to this graph, please, rather than the paper size
with my pen. Okay, so if you were rating your customers, we talked about this the other week on decision making, the Eisenhower scale of like important, urgent, all that stuff, right? So customers that are easy to work with or hard to work with, those that are low profit or high profit. You typically would want to keep the customers that are going to be easy to work with and high profit versus the ones that are hard to work with and low profit, correct?
I actually really like that.
Yes. Yes. So
I've been struggling with the ranking customers based on profitability versus ease of work with, and it is interesting to put it on that scale. So that's a good takeaway, Chad.
Yeah, it's a good graphic for a podcast. I'm glad everyone is able to see
he's
that.
just trying to encourage people to check out our YouTube. Okay,
next week I'll have him roll my whiteboard in here so I can.
What he really wants is he wants people to get on YouTube to see his bobblehead he's got behind him. So that's all part of his plan.
Yeah. Just a quick poll of the audience, how many people have built their own bobblehead of themselves and put it on a desk behind them so people can see it?
I did not build it myself. It was a gift for my 10th anniversary with the company. So I've had that for 10 years.
I digress. One, I don't have a bobblehead of myself.
I'll order one for you and send it to you as a congratulations for...
Well, I don't know if the mail even works in Canada anymore. I don't know what the hell's going on with this world. However, I think what we touched on there, actually, tiered pricing is something we haven't really talked about, but I absolutely agree with it. Tiered pricing based on whatever factor you want. There's a whole bunch of, everyone does it. Think about, here's the most obvious.
Vendors do it to us.
Absolutely, they do.
Right? Volume, ease of opportunity. They price structures differently. That's just the way that it works.
Another one I'd add to your stupid little chart there, Chad, to make it 3D.
Can we get a laminated version of that to put on the website?
Would be quote acceptance. Because one of the ones that drives our sales team crazy, we do 50 quotes and they accept 2.
I've ran out of access.
Right. Well, it's a 3D, so you're going to have to, but keeping track of that is, there are some customers that just use it as a barometer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
correct.
If they just want a quote and they never say yes, that is a complete waste of time.
So this is good. I like this.
Yeah. But this
I'm actually getting some takeaways here.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you could listen here today, Tone. So the most obvious one is just airlines. They think of an airline, you have your basic loyalty program, and then you have the silver tier, and then you have the gold tier, and probably the platinum tier. Right.
And then you have the platinum pro, and then the platinum executive.
Right. The whole idea of that is it does impact your
experience.
Your buying decisions. Right. Like I know.
Oh yeah.
Tony only flies on Delta.
United.
I don't know. He only flies on something.
Delta.
Yeah, it's Delta.
Absolutely Delta. Anyway.
Yeah, and I fly on WestJet.
Oh, you should fly on.
Because and what do? The cost isn't different, but there's value add. So exactly what we were talking about earlier on this, they don't change their price because I'm a platinum WestJet person. Yeah. But what I get is access to the lounges, access to the where they're adding value rather than negotiating on price. So exactly what we were talking about earlier, they've tiered it, and it's almost like this works. Yeah,
it's a great idea.
Yeah, so
I like that idea.
And then if you sat down with a customer on a regular basis, if it was quarterly, every 6 months, every year, and said, here's what you're doing with us. Here's the services that we're providing with you. Here are the services that we're not providing with you. Here's how we have you categorized with our company. You're in this service calculation, whatever. Can we grow our business with you? Is there opportunity to grow, get better? How are we?
This is the value you get if you get to the next tier.
Now you have cultivated this and curated this type of customer that you want to work with. Hey, it looks like though, we're doing things are going great here. We just are having a problem getting our payments with you. It looks like you typically are 15 days past terms. Is there some way that we can improve our invoicing process to trim that down? Like,
how can we work together? Yeah. And that's a great one because that's a cash flow, and that every single person on this call, if they're in our industry, that will be a sore spot for them.
We actually did this 3 years ago in a forum with residential services. I think everyone in the locksmithing industry knows there's some challenges with residential locksmithing from a time management. Well, it's harder to schedule. People need specific time appointments. Typically, you sell far less materials on a residential service call as a proportion compared to commercial. So that in general, they're just less profitable.
Price elastic. It's more price elastic. And
yes. Okay. On our scale, thank you, Chad. They are not as profitable and they are more difficult from time to time.
Oh, so they're probably down here in this lower.
Yes. So they aren't as profitable because they're more elastic to price.
Yes. Yep.
So, anyways, what we did was we just raised our rates at the time. We probably increased them to be like 60% above our commercial rates. I figured out what our normal profitability on a commercial call was and basically raised the residential rates to that profitability. And our residential tickets actually went up, like not the dollar value, the quantity of tickets. So there was zero sensitivity to that price because there was a demand there. And
elasticity pricing review.
So what?
You did a quarterly pricing review 3 years
more ago. Like a 5-year pricing review.
Recognize residential elasticity.
Yes. But anyways, we saw that as a different tier of customer, and we said we still want to provide this service and we still feel we can do it in a profitable manner. We just need to adjust the labor rates accordingly. And to this day, our residential rates are still above our commercial rates.
I think we got to get tangible here because I think we're probably getting to the closing time where our favorite part is Tony's going to come up with what the next episode is.
That reminds me of a song too. Closing
That
time.
is a song. Closing time.
A song. It is a song. We need some key takeaways here. Tangibles.
So a couple things for me. One, if anyone has looking for a good book, there's kind of a smaller unknown book called How Much Should I Charge by Ellen Rohr. I found this on a service podcast. It's a smaller book. I think you can find it for free on her website, but it's all about being intentional and going in and figuring out how much you should charge. And it's very tailored to the service industry. She has a handful of accounting books related to the service industry. So check out her website, Ellen Rohr. And then
also that article that you have there in the sauna.
Yeah, that one's a little different.
Kakuchka or something. Alan, Tom, Kakuchka.
Anyways, a couple of my takeaways. One, just tip would be just be intentional. If you don't remember anything, be intentional about pricing, making sure that you're not just reactionary pricing it, making a few phone calls and saying, "No, I'm going to raise it 5%." Figure out what you want to make. Be intentional about how you're going to get there.
Put it in your calendar.
Put a lot of thought into it.
Do it this week.
Two of the things that I learned that I'm going to implement are setting up. I was thinking of doing annual pricing reviews. I'm going to make that a little bit more frequently, and get a core group of people that are consistently doing that, so that we can get it done more efficiently. Secondly, I like the idea of actually taking those customer tiers and putting a different price to them.
Value.
Yeah.
You completely ignored what I said, but put a different value on the tiers.
I was just trying to.
I'll license this chart to
be
you.
Efficient. I don't need you to license that. I can draw that. I get.
Licensing fee. Oh, Chad, you
really glad you got
crayons
these in your creative team for all your creative
crayons.
Stuff.
That would even enhance it.
Oh, yes. Gosh.
But I also really like the idea of like telling the customer, this is your tier. I had not thought about that. We were thinking about classing them internally, but actually making it. And Lars, I remember talking about this with you at an MSC conference like 6 years ago about actually giving them cards by chance. You talk about making them, you're a platinum member and here's your thing because of it, and making it actual tangible to them. So I've given me some ideas on how to improve our pricing tiers that we're working on rolling out. So
tangible, I'm going to go very tangible right to this. We work on value pricing. So we do have a different rate for different services. Niche services in our industry, safes. If right now you're listening to this and you charge the same price to pin a lock as you do to open a safe or to service a safe or anything related to a safe, stop, hit pause, go in there and double it. Well, maybe not double it.
That reminded me of a song too. Stop.
Yeah. So that'd be one. Look at specifics that are what takes the longest to learn. That's a very practical exercise. What takes the longest to learn and to perfect in our industry? And then those are the things that are probably should be more expensive because there's more value there. Because, cutting a key, that might be elastic in your area because you can probably just go to a box store or something like that and get the same key cut, and that works fine. But where are they going to bring their safe to get opened or serviced or, any of that kind of stuff? Another one, automatic doors, operator sliders, that kind of stuff. That is a niche product that takes a lot of training to get good at. So that's something else that we specifically focus on, and there's more value, so there's more cost to it.
Yeah.
High security locks is another one. So these are very tangible things, but recoding high security locks, there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of labor that goes into that. So, because I was blown away on our little tour we did a year or two ago that changing, recoding, changing the locks of high security versus just your standard door lock, people were charging the same price, which just blew my mind because of the knowledge. So have an intentional thought. It's only going to take you 5 minutes. Think about if you're a locksmith or you're in the security industry or whatever industry you're in, really is whatever takes the most knowledge to give someone advice on or to perform a service on. That is a very good indication of what should be your most expensive things. And if it's the same as others, you really got to change it now. Yeah.
Agreed.
Chad, give me something.
Elasticity. I learned a new word today, so that was helpful. I wrote it down and that was fantastic. It's a reminder on all we do is sell our time. If we're taking that philosophy and we're not really packaging it with a professional services, what we provide is not just time. And when we think in those terms of our hourly rate and all that, then we're selling ourselves short. And kind of going back to that note that I'd taken from this conference before, is that if you're excellent, then you should get paid for excellence. And when we get into the mentality of just selling our time, then we are, it was a good reminder on that to really focus on the complete value that we're bringing to the table, not just the time. Man, I am excited about this conversation. I think was very beneficial. For me, from a reminder
I love it.
The bringing things back to the table, the things that are working and the things that haven't worked is very exciting. Those of you that are watching and listening, if you watched, obviously you have some great,
you got some absolute gold. And for those of you that aren't watching, I'm just going to fill you in. It's a dirty old piece of paper with a scraggly old line on it in Chad's grade 4 writing. So I wouldn't go rush to YouTube to see this.
That's a great description. The paper was clean, but outside of that, a huge thank you to Todd Dunsmore from HWP for helping us out with some new audio equipment. Microphone that's sitting here on my desk. Tony has a new microphone, and Lars his will
be there in a couple months.
If Canada Post could ever figure out how to take one thing from one spot and bring it to another, this would be great. So certainly appreciate that. I'll appreciate it more when our government figures out how to deliver a package.
Not relevant to the rest of the world, but just Canada specific, whenever that gets there. But we thank him for helping us out with getting some new upgraded audio equipment. The content upgrades, we're still working on that. Haven't quite figured that out yet, but the audio upgrades.
Audio is amazing. If somebody knows how to get a black cord for Tony, that would really help.
We need
you'll notice he has
sponsorship.
You don't I kind of like it. It sticks out. It's good.
It does stick out like a sore thumb in your sauna.
It does.
It's absolutely terrible. So if you could just get a Sharpie or something, that would be great.
I can get a black cord.
Tony, bring us home. What are we doing here, Tone?
Next week, we are going to talk about biggest mistakes and lessons learned from them. So top 2 or 3 things, takeaways from each of us.
We already talked about that earlier with learning how to finish doors.
This is, don't paint doors.
But the mistakes that you've learned lessons from. So we talked about this, I don't know, 10 episodes ago or so. We've all grown our businesses from...
This is a 2-parter. I've got a full novel on what biggest mistakes.
We'll let you start and I'll ask you a bunch of questions and we'll get through a couple hours.
Yeah. Yes, and I actually have a lot of Chad's biggest mistakes too. That whether he knows them or not, I'll talk about that.
So the good thing with Lars and I is I remember his mistakes. He's remembered my mistakes. We don't remember our own mistakes.
So. Right, and then Tony doesn't make them. And then
Tony doesn't make them.
And Tony just lets us make the mistake, and then he's like, boy. I won't do that.
There's a culture.
Oh, he just muted himself with his new microphone.
New microphone is just fancy. I like it.
Yeah. Okay, Chad.
If you haven't already, subscribe because you don't want to miss this riveting new episode that is going to be coming out next week around our biggest mistakes. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel because there's going to be additional value-added content there down the line that we want you to be a part of. Thank you to all of you who provide us feedback, comments, suggestions, tell us how terrible we are. All of those are beneficial and help us to get better, and we appreciate you joining us along for this journey on the Unlocked Podcast. You can find us
Podcast.
Yeah. We're working on the jingle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Guys, I talked about that last week. We need a jingle. If anyone is a jingle,
none of us should record it for sure.
I was started, but if there's a jingle person out there that knows how to do
Chad's
this,
got a couple good singers, so
that is true.
Well, Lars was working late, so thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Check us out on the website unlockedpodcast.com, and we'll see you next time on
the Unlocked Podcast.
Yeah.
All right. Goodbye, folks.